Hello, welcome to Sound Off with System One. I'm your host, Krista Kornchuk, and I'm here today with our panel of experts to discuss your biggest interview and resume questions. This is a Q&A, so if you are tuning in live and you have any pressing job search questions, interview, resume questions, this is your chance to tune in with your comments and ask questions. But before we get started, here are a few words about System One. System One is a leading provider of specialized, highly technical outsourced services and workforce solutions to critical infrastructure, technology, life sciences, and government sectors, putting more than 650 employees and 9,000 contractors to work in the US, Canada, and the UK. As you're tuning in today, please join us in the comments. Rich from our marketing team will be monitoring them. Let us know where you're joining from, what industry you work in. And as I said before, we encourage you to send us your most pressing job search related questions. This is a live Q&A, so please put that in the comments as well. And before we get started with our questions, we'd love to have our panel of experts introduce themselves. Our panel is going to also be sharing their hot jobs, which you can find at the bottom of the screen or by scanning the QR code. And to view all other available jobs, please visit jobs.system1.com. Maggie, we will start with you.
Perfect. Hello, Maggie Marroquin, Director of Accounting and Finance Services here in Houston, Texas, heavily focused on placing accounting and finance folks, as well as HR and administrative candidates at all levels. The hot job that I'm going to talk about today is an Expeditor role with one of our growing EPC engineering procurement construction companies, West Houston. There's several opportunities. The company that we're working with, they were just awarded a large contract and looking for several expediters, experienced expediters, to come and help them out on a long-term project basis. They're really looking for somebody that's experienced in this field, strong people skills to be able to help manage both the vendor side of things as well as support supply chain and folks out in the field. So definitely hot and ready to review resumes ASAP.
All right. Well, thanks, Maggie. I'm Melissa McNally. I've been with ALTA for about 11 years. I've been doing IT staffing for more than 30 years at this point. My hot job today is a senior network operations engineer for a financial services customer. We're looking for someone with a strong IT security and firewall background. It's a hybrid remote role, about once a month on site, and the candidate can be located either in DC, Boston, Philadelphia, San Francisco. So please feel free to contact me if interested. Thanks.
Thanks, Melissa. Hi, everyone. I'm Colleen Losowitz, recruiting manager of Joulé's national accounts team. Our team focuses on contract staffing for positions within the life sciences field. I've been with Joulé for almost 4 years, and I'm based out of our Edison, New Jersey branch. Today, I'd like to highlight an exciting opportunity that we have with one of our global pharmaceutical clients in the Devens, Massachusetts area. This role is a fully on-site contract compliance specialist position, and it'll act as a lead investigator, managing the resolution of deviations, root cause investigations, and CAPA management. They're looking for candidates who have a bachelor's degree in the life sciences, 1 to 4 years of experience with quality investigations, and experience utilizing root cause analysis tools. So they are looking to have candidates interview and start as soon as possible. So if you're interested in learning more, please connect with me on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much. And in the comments, you can see how to connect with our panel of experts on LinkedIn. And again, to view all other available jobs, please visit jobs.system1.com. Without further ado, we are going to get started. Since this is a live Q&A, we're going to get started a little differently today. This is the best time to send in your pressing job search questions. But before we start answering those questions, I want to have our panel of experts start by sharing a job search tip that their candidates have been benefiting from. A lot of these tips are common problems that candidates are running into. So yeah, without further ado, we will start with you, Maggie.
Perfect. Thank you. One thing that I wanted to talk about is oftentimes, and kind of during the pandemic, post-pandemic, there's a lot of job seekers out there looking for remote-only opportunities, and more so than previously. And my team in Houston, we're not the best resource for those types of opportunities. if you're a candidate, on the move and looking for remote only, most of our positions are going to be at best a hybrid schedule. And just from a statistics, right, less than 13% of employers across the U.S. are fully 100% remote. Most of the jobs, almost 60%, are still on site daily, and 28% of jobs are hybrid. The whole battle of, working remote, everything can be done remotely. It's definitely being lost. And the compromise is a hybrid schedule. They surveyed, employees across the US, and 98% of the folks surveyed want some kind of remote capabilities. And so it's definitely high demand on the job seeker side. The employers haven't made that switch yet. And so from a recruiting perspective, if we focus on remote roles, it very much becomes a national search at that point. And it's just not something that we target on our side, because we're very big on relationships. And so most of the clients that we work with are going to be throughout, the greater Texas area, and offer hybrid at best. So I just wanted to kind of share that. Those remote searches, those companies don't necessarily need to hire an outside firm to find remote candidates, because it's in such high demand. So for us, it's just not something that we target. So if you're looking for remote only jobs, I encourage you, network as much as you can, apply to the role, invite folks to link in with you, network all day.
Awesome.
All right. I would say, similar to what Maggie mentioned, really stay flexible. My advice on the IT side is that we're seeing a lot of market changes as companies figure out whatever this new normal is. There's still a lot of remote on the IT side, but then there's also the hybrid. We're having a lot of rate challenges. Hot technologies change every day. So I would just encourage candidates to consider positions that they perhaps may not have considered in the past, and maybe look at something that the rate's a little lower than what you are used to, just again, because things are changing. And do your best to learn new technologies. You won't become an expert in everything hot right away. It doesn't work that way, but just try to keep your skills fresh. On the ground, we're seeing still a lot of cloud migrations. The news will really highlight AI and data science. That's not quite as hot right now as cloud migrations, but just stay flexible and keep learning.
Yeah, I definitely think the points that Melissa and Maggie brought up also tie into the topic that I wanted to talk about. I'm talking to so many candidates lately who have either recently been laid off or whose company is going through a reduction. And I know there's a lot of uneasiness out there right now. So, I hope that today's session can bring some advice and some tips to help anyone who's currently going through that. But I think having that flexibility in the next steps of your career after experience a layoff will definitely, prove to serve you well. I think being realistic about both your expectations for your next position and for new opportunities that might be in your horizon, are definitely going to come in handy. And going back to Maggie's point, kind of leaning into your network that you've created, or continue to network via LinkedIn and other platforms. You never know that, where your next opportunity could come from. It could be right around the corner, and it can come quicker than you think if you take advantage of those connections. But being open-minded and positive in these next, few steps of the next part of your career, and being open to what's going to come at you, being realistic with your expectations, being realistic with what you bring to the table, I definitely think can help you find your next opportunity. And first and foremost, connect with a recruiter. We at Joulé, we're committed to helping you find the right fit. And we can also provide advice when it comes to your resume or interviewing tips if it's been a while since your last interview. So definitely connect with myself, Maggie, Melissa. Any of us can help you in that regard.
Thank you so much to our panel. That was really helpful. Great advice. This is the time where we are going to start answering your live questions. So again, if you have any job seeking questions, interview resume questions, send them in and we are going to get started. Our first question is from Curtis Robb. He is saying, I'm in Minnesota, and while I have limited experience in medical device companies, I find that all companies want years of experience of a quality engineer, and I'm having problems getting a job. Panel, have you run into that? Any advice we can offer him?
I think that goes back to the comment I just, made. Most companies are looking for specific qualities, years of experience, degree, specific soft skills, things of that nature. So, I empathize with Curtis having a hard time. But I think if there's anything that, he can add to his resume to make it, comparable to the jobs that he's applying to, I definitely think that could better his chances. Connect with one of us. We'd be more than happy to take a look and help him out in that regard. But again, I think being realistic with what you're skilled at and what compares to the job description will help in the long run.
I think that's a great point and some really good feedback there. I also think too, like you had mentioned, right? Like tweaking your resume a bit, making those small changes, to highlight your skill set with that job specifically. I think that can oftentimes be an art, but definitely necessary if you're trying to switch gears or move into something where you don't have all the boxes checked or the number of years of experience. We've seen that a lot, in the Houston base where folks are trying to, my degree's in this, I have some experience in here, but I want to go and do this whole new thing, right? You have to make the skills that you do have as transferable as possible, to pique that hiring manager's interest. And, we've been doing this for a long time, right? And the market ebbs and flows, right? 1 minute it's a candidate market, 1 minute it's employer market. And when it's an employer market or when it starts to shift, employers are going to be more adamant about their requirements. And when it's a candidate market, they're going to be more flexible. The job posting may look exactly the same, but I always encourage my candidate, if you're interested in the role and you can do 75% of that job, apply all day. Because the whole goal is you're getting in front of hopefully a potential hiring manager, and they're going to see what it is that you bring to the table. And the only thing we know about them as a company is the jobs that they're posting, but they may know, hey, I have a role that you're more qualified for that's going to be open in a couple of weeks. I'd love to talk to you about that. So if you're interested in the role and semi-qualified, I encourage you to apply all day.
Yeah, I would always encourage applying. Get your resume out there. And in some cases, managers become a little overwhelmed with getting a lot of resumes in. So you have to really, again, be realistic with your skills and make sure that the experience that you have really says so on the resume, because the managers and we won't know that you have that experience unless it's specifically noted there. And when a hiring manager is looking at 25 or 30 resumes for a role, they just want to see that experience jump out.
Absolutely. And I think one thing I would like to add as well, especially when talking about transferable skills, utilize ChatGPT, because you may have some transferable skills that you're not aware of that can go into a new role where you might not have that experience. So, put your resume in there and then put the job that you're looking for in there as well. And you might be surprised. I also had someone comment, how would the market be in the coming days? And I think Maggie mentioned that there's ebbs and flows of a candidate market and an employer market. What are you all seeing on your end? And I'm sure it's varying for different industries as well.
On the IT side, we're seeing increased flow really after the early January. Again, more ebb and flow and different types of requirements, meaning that the standard positions that we saw even a year or two ago are changing a little bit as companies get their arms around new technologies and how they're going to staff their projects. But I see it getting very strong. I think 24 will be a great year. It's just taking a little time for things to ramp up on IT.
And I think that's the same for the Houston market too. And I think honestly, because we have a large focus on accounting and finance, it has to do with the time of year. But budgets are, transferable across the board, all silos. But, a lot of folks in that accounting and finance space are wrapping up year-end close, month end from December, year-end close. And so January tends to be kind of a slower month for us, but this is when it really starts to pick up and get really exciting. And then it's full steam ahead until throughout the summer. So it's definitely going to pick up. I think it depends on what we're looking at. We're working on several jobs right now in the contract space, and it's been difficult to find contract candidates, that they're perm employed and looking for another perm employment, or, it's just not the right fit. So contract candidates immediately available continues to be difficult to find. So to me, it's kind of still a candidate market, but it's gonna change.
Yeah, and I think in the pharma biotech space, we're off to a really strong start for the new year, especially within the R&D space. We're seeing a lot of lab techs, research associate, scientist positions being released. So a lot of our clients are working on a lot of new product development, which would require that, larger workforce. So I definitely think we're off to a strong start. And obviously more to come in the upcoming months. But usually, January is a little bit slower. And, right off the bat with the new year, we received a ton of new positions. So I think 2024 is going to be the comeback year for everybody.
We love to hear that. That's amazing news. We have another question. Hello, team. I have more than 5 years of experience on cybersecurity, like CyberArk, working as contract in most of the role. Now I am having a problem getting a full-time role. Can you help me? And what are the things I need to focus on for that?
Sure, I can help a little bit on the IT side. I think really keeping an eye on postings, of course, that's going to be the same contract or full-time hire. Focusing on things like full-time hire, I would think would be more oriented towards job tenure. And really, again, that flexibility piece, because contract rates in some cases are a little higher versus a more streamlined salary. So just, again, be flexible and open to positions that may not look like a perfect fit on paper, but definitely apply.
Awesome. And we have another question that came in from Czar. Is it always true that 1 or 2 job applications are not enough, but you have to apply to hundreds to get one? That's an interesting question. Would love to hear your perspectives.
I think the more you put your resume out there, the greater chances that you have. So when I'm dealing with a candidate, I present all viable opportunities to them because, each hiring manager is different. So I want to keep all their options open. So if I have one position for them or 10, I'm going to present all of them to them and say, let's talk about each one. Let's see which one you like best. So when you're applying, I definitely advise you to do the same and just keep all of your options open.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, before I got this job, I applied to multiple jobs, and it's nice to have options. You're making the right choice for yourself, and it's not like you're being forced to be in a position that's not going to be a good fit. I love this question from Tracy. What are some good questions to ask to find out about a company's culture?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
Did you want to take it, Maggie?
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in our interview prep, we always kind of discuss this with our candidates. One of the things I like to advise them on is asking what type of philanthropic efforts they do, because I think that could tell a lot about a company's culture. And then I also just like to have them ask about kind of like what their initiatives are for their workforce. So do they do, monthly outings? Do they do employee appreciation days? Things like that. I think that can definitely tell you a lot about a company's culture.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to piggyback on that too, I am a professional stalker, as we all are, right? And so I will often go to LinkedIn, see the folks that are at that company and see how long they've been there, and just try to get a feel for, if it's somebody that moves around and then they moved around again, right? Like maybe not put too much stock into that, but if somebody's been there for quite some time and that seems to be, and not just at the top, but at all levels, right? Like in kind of the departments across the board. And to me, that says, clearly they have committed employees, right? So they're not too terribly unhappy. And then that kind of feeds into, like you said, the information page about, what extra things do they do, employee commitment, engagement, things like that. But I put a lot of stock kind of in that tenure piece of it to see if it's a constant revolving door.
Yep, that makes a big difference. Another thing that helps when using a recruiter is another benefit of working with a staffing company is that we tend to have very long relationships with our clients. So we know the culture quite well just based on our many years of experience with placing candidates there. And again, during the interview prep, we would go into that and discuss with candidates, even during the recruiting process, because you can get a feel for what people are looking for, whether this company might be a potential fit.
And I love that feeling too, right? Like as we're talking to candidates and you just know automatically like, oh my gosh, they would be the perfect fit for ABC, right? I'm a big believer that skill set, hard skills get you the job, but your soft skills keep the job. And so employers are, you can do a job 100%, but if you're the wrong personality match for that group, they're going to hire somebody else that they can train. That's the right personality match for the group. So yeah, that's a very good point. Just establishing that relationship and rapport with a recruiter that you know and trust and is going to be transparent, about the company culture and what you're looking for, and just really be your advocate and partner in your job search is crucial.
I agree. I think having someone on your side during a job search is huge. It can be really overwhelming, especially as you get into those later stages and you have to make a decision, which leads us to our next question. Robert is asking, how can I find a recruiter for IT and cyber?
Well, feel free to check out the ALTA website. Lots of IT and cyber jobs. We would love to hear from you. The best thing to do would be really any of the System 1 positions that would have either IT or cyber, but we would be happy to help you with your job search.
Fantastic. Easy answer. And we have another one. Hi, team. I saw a particular job I was interested in, and it was a job in the electrical field. There were some qualifications that I did not measure up to. So my questions are, should I apply anyway? I have 8 years of experience in the construction industry.
All day.
I'll answer, but
all day. I would, again, if you're interested in the role and you can do the majority of the role, apply to it all day. It's about getting in front of that hiring manager. And again, you only know what's posted, right? There may be other opportunities that they haven't had a chance to post yet, or they're waiting for approval for, that you might be the perfect fit for. It's just not posted. And oftentimes in talking to my clients, when they're getting a job description together, my favorite job to work on is when it's a lead. It's not even a formulated job yet, right? I'm talking to a client. They're like, I have somebody going out on a maternity leave or medical leave at some point, and I would love to get a senior accountant in here that could do X, Y, and Z. I love to go fishing then, right? And see what I can find, because oftentimes you can base the job around the individual versus getting the job together and placing, the individual around the job. So it's kind of a reverse search, but I love that. And so if you match the description, can do most of that job, apply all day and see what you can find out.
Yeah, I agree, Maggie. And I think you just putting yourself out there will open up the door for more opportunities, because I know specifically with myself and my team, if you have a good background, I'm going to call you and I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to try and help you get a job, whether you're a good fit for this one or one that I have tomorrow or one that I have in a week. Right. So I think even if you don't hit all the qualifications that they're listing in the job description, still apply, because if you have that great background, someone's going to call you and connect and find that right fit for you.
And we save resumes as well. So even if you apply today and we may not have anything for you, even in this month, next month, in a few months, we have that resume. And I know I personally save resumes that would be a fit for my clients. And our database also saves all candidates. So anyone within System 1 is able to review your resume. And that's a lot of opportunities.
Well, and not only that, like, you have to think about it from a hiring manager's perspective, right? Like, if somebody has left because unforeseen circumstances, or left to move on and better, themselves, hooray for them. But there is now a void, right? And so Sally is leaving and she used to do all of these things. And so the gap is now all of these things. And so their job description might be reflective of that. It may or may not make sense. And so to go and find somebody new, to join the organization, it isn't going to potentially check all of those boxes. And so it can be, those job descriptions can be based on individuals and not necessarily the role. And so again, being able to do the majority of that role and getting in front of that hiring manager, there may be a learning opportunity for you, some growth for you as well. Don't get discouraged just because you can't check all the boxes. You don't want to be able to check all the boxes unless you want to be a button pusher and just stay in your lane and just do this, right? But I think naturally we want to continue to grow and learn and do more.
Absolutely. And let's get to updating resume. So Dante, I haven't updated my resume in 8 years. Can you suggest a good resume builder? I think you should utilize a recruiter, but I'm going to let the experts
all day. And as not that I'm on the market, I've been here 7 years and I'm ecstatic, but free is me all day. There's so many free templates out there that you can use. And unless you are being hired to write resumes, you're going to overthink it, right? I know some accounting and finance folks, we are paid to be very analytical. We're going to overthink our resume to a point where we can't get it together, right? But you should have certain key points on your resume. It should look in a certain kind of way, but don't overthink it, right? It's just getting the information on there. You do have to have these certain sections, but so many people are just like, I don't know what to do. And we talk to candidates where they've been with a company for 10 years and they haven't been on the market in 10 years and they got that job through a referral. And so they didn't even have to put the resume together then, I partner with a recruiter, see what makes sense. We fix resumes all the time, right? We talk it all out. We help you get that document together. But the biggest thing is, not getting or get out of your own way. It's just putting it together. Stop overthinking it. You're not getting paid to write a resume. You're getting paid to do whatever your skill set is.
Yeah, and I think if you are going to use a resume builder app or hire a service, to do that's fine as well. But make sure you proofread what they're putting on there for you, because you're the one that's going to have to interview based off of this information. So you want to make sure it's things that you've done, things you can speak to, give specific examples. So if, there's a lot of fluff on that resume, that you can't speak to, that could make your interview go poorly. So if you are going to use those other services, definitely review what they're putting on there. But I agree with Maggie. Contact one of us. We'll definitely help you out.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add to that as well. Again, utilize ChatGPT. It's going to help you pick out the correct keywords. And most companies are using an applicant tracking system where keywords are, the main thing that hiring managers are looking at. So ChatGPT will help you write that correctly, use the correct keywords, especially for the position that you're looking for. And it's important to tailor your resume for the position you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And also make sure you put it in Grammarly after, because it's not 100%. We still need to use our brains. So I think, utilizing a recruiter and those free resources will really help you out. We are actually out of time for today, but thank you so much to everyone who brought questions in. We are going to continue to do Q&As. Please make sure you follow and connect with System One on LinkedIn, connect with our panel of experts, and make sure you tune in to Sound Off with System One every first and third Friday at 2 p.m. for more job seeker topics. Our next Sound Off with System One live stream will be Friday, February 2nd at 2 p.m., and we will be discussing how to search for a new job while you're employed. We'll see you then. Thanks, everybody.